G'day folks, back onto the Morris again today. It's raining unfortunately, so I'm not going to be doing anything outside. I'll probably end up finishing off the tow bar on the Jag too. I've got to get that done. And try and keep calling me mate, see about this thermoforming machine, because it's been about 3 weeks and I hope it doesn't go to scrap before I get to pick it. I'll pick all the drives and stuff out of it. So I've done the timing last night. I forgot to do a video on that. It's pretty straightforward. You just line the two timing marks off and slide the pulleys on, or the chain and sprockets. You got to set the sprockets and chain up together and then slide them on simultaneously. There's no split link in the chain, but that's easy enough. I'm just doing the drop gears now for the transmission. That's all got to go on through there. So I just got to remember which order they came off in. Yeah, this has to go on first. That's where the main oil seal runs. Got to put that drop gear in, the centre gear, and that lines up with this other tapered or needle bearing race, and that should do it. I should be able to set the gaskets in and stick that cover on. Just notice a bit of a step in the block there, so there's two different gasket thicknesses. Oh no, it's just goo, I think. Yeah, it's goo from the other gasket. I can trim that and clean that up. Keep cleaning this up a bit. I was hoping that'd be a bit easier to get off. That was quite stubborn. I'm going to clean all these bits of crud out, but the new oil filter will catch most of the crap. Alright, well that's how the drop gears work. This is your transmission input shaft. That's the engine output shaft with a sleeve over the outside. And you have a clutch and flywheel assembly out here. And when you engage the clutch, it actually drives this outer piece, which spins on the crankshaft. It drives the transmission. I would assume that one's going clockwise, one's going anti-clockwise. I'm not 100% sure. They might both go the same direction. I haven't seen one of these running open, which you can't really do anyway because it's so reliant on its oil supply that there'd be oil everywhere. So I can't run it open for you, but that just sits in there like so. That's the centre drop gear. I don't have replacement bearings for it, but these are all in pretty good nick. Yeah, just got the gasket goo on and I'm ready to glue the cover on. And this isn't hard setting gasket goo either. This is the semi-solid number 3. Horribly messy stuff, but it's not like what the last person did and used the stuff that goes off like cement. God, that gasket was hard to get off. All the other ones came off alright, but that one lower one that I left till the last minute, that was an absolute pain in the ass because I had to keep all the crap out of here too. I'll make sure that's spotless, and then we can glue the top on, or the front end cover on. Ah, there we go. Housing's on, flywheel's on. I'm not using a clutch on this one. I've disabled most of that. I don't even have the springs for it anymore. I've just got a flange that bolts onto the face of it with a drive pulley on it. So I'm direct driving off the engine. The transmission doesn't really do anything anymore. It can all be reinstated. Just got to find some second-hand parts and replace the ones that I've modified. As far as bolt tension goes, well, I don't have a torque wrench big enough to do that, so got the big old shifter. It's one series shifter. And a tyre lever just to wedge it in the bolts so that it doesn't turn the engine over. And I got that bolt bloody tight, so it ain't going anywhere. I've got the lifters in too. Yeah, it's almost ready for the cylinder head. Just got to clean and prep the head up and bolt it on. Alright, well while the head's drying and I'm preparing that for installation, I figured I'd put the oil pump housing on and soak the rocker arm assemblies and everything ready for reinstallation. I also went next door and got some aluminum paint. It's nice viscous stuff to paint the head gasket with. These gaskets already have an aluminum coating on them, which is designed to sort of adhere to the block once you run the engine up to temperature, but they're sort of intended for a block and head that have been machined and ground perfectly smooth. The monotorque gaskets with the red sealant around them are a lot more forgiving, but I don't have one of them at the moment. You don't have to deck the block if you have the nice sealant on them, as long as it's pretty good. I mean, it's got pitting and other nasties all over the deck, then you will be in trouble. But you can paint it with a bit of epoxy aluminum or similar type of paint and just sandwich it all together. It works quite well. It's a proven technique. It's lasted many years. Neighbours always done that sort of thing with these BMC engines and never had a problem. Any that gets into the cylinders just goes out the exhaust. It's quite harmless, as long as you don't go too overboard. I'm just going to give it a very light, thin coat, let it tack off a bit and then stick it down. Pretty easy. I've also got this power supply off them to troubleshoot. It's a AC adapter for a Waco portable fridge, caravan fridge. Somebody decided to plug a electric rattle gun into it and overloaded it, and it popped something. So that's later on. Right now I've got the deck cleaned up and sealed off for now. Yeah, I'll just stick this oil filter housing on. This is the paper element type housing. I've got to get a new element too. I forgot about that one. So I can't fill it with oil and then prime it up until I've got that. Oil discharge from the oil pump comes through here. There's an oil pressure bypass valve or an overloader valve, and there's also a valve inside the filter housing in case the oil filter becomes so plugged up that it just can't allow oil through. This little filter or bypass valve opens and continues lubricating the engine, but it's with unfiltered oil. So yeah, it's a safety feature. That's oil switch. The oil light you see when you start your engine up, if that stays on, it means you don't have oil pressure. So I'll definitely be hooking a lamp up to that when I run this first time. Alright, it's head time. And make sure the deck is smooth and spotless. I stoned this with a flat sharpening stone before I even wash the block down, so that's already done. You don't want to do that after you've already got it together, or you'll put abrasive dust in your cylinders. Of course, make sure everything's clean. I've had it covered the whole time, so it's nice and clean. I'm just going to give it a wipe down to remove any residual oil, because I'm going to be using an aluminum paint to help seal it up. As you can see, there's a bit of discoloration and some lines from corrosion or just wear and tear, particularly down here. So I want to take that up with some aluminum paint, particularly where the water galleries meet the cylinder walls. But that should seal up pretty good. I've got all the studs ready. They've got to go in. The longer studs go along the side with the lifters and the pushrod tubes. The shorter ones go along the front edge. And there's different numbers too. There's 4 long ones and 5 short ones, so there's only one way you can get it all together. But yeah, that's always important because Dad's playing with his bike again. But yeah, the rocket rail has to bolt through them. Alright, studs are in, the deck's nice and clean. And these things are handy, winding them in. Alright, the head's all torqued down. I'll run it once I've got everything else done, and then I'll give it a quick re-torque. It's not a mono-torque gasket. This old torque wrench is a bit different to the other ones, but pretty straightforward to use. I mean, I've got it set to 55-ish, and all you do is you load it up. I haven't quite finished torquing this one, but and it clicks like that. So the longer I leave this, the more it'll just relax into place. So it's been about 25 minutes, so I can actually re-torque this now. That one's alright. Good. Just those middle ones relaxed a tiny bit, but that's sort of normal. The gasket's compressed nicely. You can see some of that paint, even though I gave it the most minuscule coating, you can see it oozing out the side. So that's good. It's very good. Should have 100% seal now. And heat will help cure that as well. Once I run it up to temperature, she should be very happy. I've also got to do the rocket clearances as well. I'd slackened a lot of these nuts off just so that I can get the assembly down on the head before I tensioned it. But yeah, very good. That, and also stretched the head studs as well. These studs have been used many times and probably should have been replaced. So if anything, I'm just stretching these other studs. So no more talking for now. I will double check it, but yeah, you got to be careful we don't stretch the head studs too much. Nearly there. Well, there's a bit of ancillary stuff to bolt on, but the long block's pretty much complete now. Just got to put the rocker cover on, and I'll add some oil to it and just turn it over by hand, get a bit of oil onto the gears again. There will be a little bit of moisture in there from my cleaning efforts and things like that, but nothing that won't hurt it. It'll be good. Valve lash is done. It's 0.021 inches. Yeah, really easy. You just need a set of feeler gauges, slotted screwdriver, and what was I using? I can't remember the spanner size, but some imperial size. I think it was 3/8 or something. But they're easy enough. Just loosen the nut off, wind the screw back, and just get it so that the gauge is lightly binding. Then hold the screw steady with the screwdriver and tighten the nut up and just double check it. So that's just right, and they're all like that across the board. Turn it over a few times and double check it, but make sure nothing's out of whack. Yeah, I'll screw a plug back in there. That's my low pressure oil, or oil suction from the sump, so that has to be plugged completely. High pressure oil's connected up to the filter housing. That's gonna, I'll take the valve core out of that and screw a mechanical oil pressure gauge onto that. It uses a capillary tube. Distributor mount, oil pressure regulator, like little piston valve. It's all fairly easy stuff. Yeah. Got the side covers back on, all the push rods and everything are right, the lifters are right. Gonna clean up the manifold and carburetor again. Clean up the water pump and mount that up. There's a short little extension hose that goes between the water pump and the head, so that has to go in first. I remember I forgot that one day and had to take the water pump off again. Spark plugs, I'll get them in first just so that no crud goes down the spark plug holes. Yeah, not an awful lot to go. I just got to buy an oil filter. Forgot to get one of those paper element oil filters. So can't run it tonight, but I'll at least turn it over a few times and prime the oil system. We'll just have oil come out of there. That's alright. Or at least prime the oil pump anyway. You don't want to turn it over if oil is not getting to the crankshaft mains. But I did use some fairly sticky oil to prime it up, so should be right. Slowly tidying it up. Got oil in the sump and everything. Bit of a firestorm going on in there, and there's about to be a firestorm out on the street if the bloody yobbos didn't piss off. Bashing and crashing, it sounded like they were smashing up cars or something. Thankfully they didn't hit anything near me, but God, where's an AK-47 when you need one? It'd be so nice to cull off some of them fuckwits. This whole country's just... must be flooded with really nasty people. Nothing better to do than go around, get pissed, and start fights or vandalise things. Why can't they be at home and do things like this, or at least spend quality time with a woman or something like that? I mean, I do a bit of everything apart from cause trouble to people, and it's perfectly normal. And yet all these goddamn yobbos and deros and shitheads, druggies, decide to go around causing trouble, get off on good behaviour bonds. Now, put them into labour camps, open fire on them with an AK-47. I don't give a shit. Just get rid of them. This country needs productive people. People who want to support Australia, for Australia, not sell out to other countries and not cause trouble like trashing other people's houses just for the fun of it. Me and my neighbour have had enough, and I'm sure a lot of other people have. So, with that, I'm going to guard the fort and call it a night. Thanks for watching.